Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Schipper Sunday. And today I have a quattro. Now I have several quattros in my stash, but I have not brought you those yet. And this one just happens to be one of the new ones for autumn 2021. So this is one of the new releases that they sent me recently. Now you can see it comes in a pretty large box that doesn't fit on my recording station unless I turn it, sideways. So I thought I would just at least get it here in the screen. And you can see the 4 different designs that come with this kit. Now this one's called aptly On the Farm. And how cute is this one? Those of you who love farm animals and have that whole farmhouse vibe going on in your decor, how perfect is this set of 4 paintings? So let's talk about what you get in a quattro kit. Now, one thing I do want to mention is I love the quattros because they are mini baby sized little paint by numbers. And when I open this up, I'm going to show you, because this is the first one I've ever opened. Even though I own other ones, I was waiting to do videos on those particular kits, so I hadn't opened them yet. I didn't know what size the actual painting was. And so when I opened this up and kind of popped one out, I was like, oh my gosh, they're so cute. So you're gonna see what I mean in just a minute. So let's open this kit. Let's take a look at the designs and how these come. First, let's take a look at all of the paints. So every time I get a Schipper kit, I have to look at the palette and go, yay, I have more paints to add to my collection of paints. Because we all know that paint by numbers is not just about painting a paint by number, it's about hoarding and collecting the supplies, right? I mean, hello. Okay, so we'll go to the paints last, as I normally do. I'm always going to talk about the paints, but let's go ahead and talk about the little mini board paintings. As usual, catalog, help me. Okay, putting it aside so I don't get distracted. Look at the size of the baby board. Oh, I'm so excited. This is approximately a 7-inch by 9.5-inch piece. So yes, speaking of manageable, this is a project Melanie might could finish in a month. I'm just kidding. Now, if I went to paint this in reality with nothing else going on, not flaring up, not sleeping for hours and hours a day, not feeling exhausted and no appointments, you know what I'm saying? Like, normal day-to-day life with nothing else going on. I literally feel like you could paint this in a couple of days, no problem. This is a weekend project. It is a baby Schipper. I mean, a baby Schipper. So let's compare it real quick to one that I've actually completed in the past that is what I normally call a baby Schipper, just to show you the difference in the normal small size Schipper and a quattro. So this is a normal smallest size Schipper, and this is the quattro. You can see definitely a manageable size. I mean, hello little baby Schipper. This is like a preemie Schipper. This is a baby Schipper. All right, sorry. These kind of crazy, insane comments are why y'all watch my videos, right? All right, so we don't necessarily have to look at each one of the boards, but the way they come is they're all together in this one larger component. You pop them out. You can see I've already popped out 2 of them. Each of your designs on a separate board. Okay. The rooster is my favorite, not gonna lie. I mean, I'm kind of digging the pig, because I feel like we have a special bond. But I do have a thing for roosters. They're just kind of cocky and all. But let's talk about the paints, okay? I was wondering if the paints were gonna come separate for each of the quattro paintings, and thankfully they don't. So you're just gonna have the same numbers and the same paints for each of the individual paintings, which I thought was yay. I'm all about those paints, no canvas. All about those paints, no canvas. Yes, I did that. Yes, I did. I just went Meghan Trainor on y'all. Badly. I mean, badly, but I did it. Don't be mad. Don't hate me, because you're gonna be singing all about that bass the rest of the day, but you're gonna be saying, I'm all about those paints. Those paints. No. Sorry. Yes, I laugh at my own jokes. Nobody else is gonna do it. You know you're crazy as hell when you standing here talking to a camera and you laughing at yourself. My mama used to say, it's okay to talk to yourself as long as you don't answer back. And I'm thinking to myself nowadays going, what if you talk to yourself and you laugh at your own jokes when you're by yourself talking to a camera? I think we just need to not even have this conversation anymore. Yeah, I think I just answered my own question. Okay, so it looks like there's going to be 35 colors. And this one says Lear, which means empty. That means we're going to have another empty paint pot here. So we're not going to number that one, obviously. But it tells us how to number them, just like last time. I will follow that when I number these. But let's just take a look at our palette. Here we have another group of yummy greens. Hello, yummy greens. Love having a lot of good greens, because lots of times when we're doing those blendy backgrounds that are blurred, which I will be doing eventually, I'm going to show you how to do a watercolory background with acrylic paints, like I've been promising. I'm just trying to find the right painting for that. Anyway, we're going to need a lot of greens, and I feel like those are the best. Okay, look at these though. Oh, what a fabulous palette. Beautiful. Autumn yellow, orange, corally pink. Oh God, look at these beautiful, like salmon. All right, sorry. So distracted. Squirrel. And then the pastels. Okay, beautifuls. So I'm going to swatch these paints. You know how I do. And this might take a while, but I will do that, and I'm going to come back. Let's talk about these paints and how they swatched. Now, I will say this. I'm going to go ahead and give you a heads up on this. On the group at Facebook, I had somebody say they just bought this kit and they were not thrilled with some of the coverage on some of the darker paints. And so I am going to be watching for that. Now, it is a lot different when you are swatching on a piece of paper. And it's a lot different when you are swatching on a board with a paper surface. But what I might try to do is try the paints on here without gesso and just see what's going on, because I've heard a lot of people, they're not totally thrilled lately with some of the paints, and I'm just wondering if it's a one-off or if something's going on and whatever, because you guys know I'm obsessed with the Schipper kits and their paints. So hopefully there's not going to be an issue, but I'm preparing for that. All right, you guys, I will be back. Let's test out some paints, and I will see you back soon. So in my experience on this palette, it was phenomenal. Like, I can't even explain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it up here. I'm going to get a little closer with the camera. I'm going to focus in. I want you to see as close as I can possibly get, that I'm not pulling any punches, that you're seeing exactly what I'm seeing, same lighting and everything, that I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm seeing here. In this entire palette, number one is the white. It is translucent. I'm seeing a little bit of the paint pot showing through the little lid. When I designed this little digital swatch guide, I did the gray paint pots, or like a darker gray paint pot that you can paint over, and you will see a little bit of it shining through if the paint is translucent or transparent. So the purpose of that little paint pot is to give you that indication. The reason I did it not in black was because a lot of paint by numbers are now, in gray, but also because if you can see it in gray, you're gonna be able to see it in black, right? So that was my thought process. Anyway, so we can see it just barely in that white, but that is such a beautiful white. It's probably one of my favorite whites. A titanium white will cover more opaquely. Is that one of those other words that might be a word that doesn't exist? I don't know, we're using it. But I love the sheen of the Schipper paints personally, so but these always cover really nicely, so I just use them. All right, the next one that barely shows through is a number 2. And I mean barely, I have to look for it. So that one is barely translucent. 13 and 14 are barely translucent. So having said that, I never put a second layer on a Schipper painting. And when I say that, what I mean, I do not do second layers. What I do is a touch up on the number so that I'm not doing 2 layers on every single one of those colors. So as I'm painting, I will paint the cell and I'll paint the cells around it that color. As it dries, I come back and I go dot, dot, dot over the number. Boop, boop, boop. That is my second layer. So that is all I need. I do not do second layers on pretty much any painting I ever paint. I only touch up numbers. If it is a transparent color, I ain't gonna use it to begin with. Another video, another time. All right, let's zoom out. Let's get the board ready and let's do a little painting. Let's first talk about the swatch itself, whether I found any issues. And then I've decided what I'm gonna do is paint a little bit on an ungessoed board, the rooster, because the rooster has a lot of the different colors in the palette. So it has a lot of the reds, it has some of the browns, I believe, and a lot of the range of colors in it. So I thought I would do that a little bit for the video. I know that kind of takes us a little off of the Schipper Sunday norm, but I want to do that. But then I want to come back and I want to discuss streaky paints with you guys. So I'm going to do a separate video about how to work with streaky paints, how to avoid streaky paints, and just do a separate video altogether about things you can do to prevent streaking besides putting your clothes on. I had to say it. I had to say it. Smart-ass-stick that I am. Anyway, and some things that you can do, like tips that will help you in future situations when it comes to streaky paints, okay? So we'll just make that a separate video because I feel like that video in itself is a lot of information. But I do want to paint on this board a little bit and attempt to try some of these that a lot of people have said could be streaky. Let's talk about what all I have here before I get started and get zoomed in and you're not able to see everything. So I have the rooster board, then I have a water dish that I will link you to in the bottom from Amazon. I have a stainless steel stirrer that we carry at Melanie B's Creative Supplies. I'll put a link below as well and right here. These are the cosmetic wipes that I use every single time I rinse my brush. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you as I rinse. I pull it across, I turn, and I reshape my bristles. That is how I use the same set of paintbrushes for years. Seriously, you guys, years. In fact, when I got the Melanie B's 5-piece detail paintbrush set, I only kept one set because I knew that I could restore them and keep them and I didn't have to panic and keep 5 sets for myself because I do this every single time I rinse, and then I leave the conditioning agent from the cosmetic wipes on the bristles, which keeps them in shape, and leave it overnight until my next painting session, and then I rinse them before I start and paint. So anyway, these are also available at Melanie B's Creative Supplies, as well as the new 5-piece mini detail paintbrush set, which I'm going to be using. So let me mention, at some point when I receive the other 2 new sets, I will be doing an exclusive video just on the paintbrush sets. But I do want to mention that the reason they have the sizes and the name of the brush on the handle is so that as I'm working, I can say I'm using the 2/0 spotter brush, and that way you know what I'm using while I'm working. So that's what I'll be doing while I am painting this, okay? In addition, I have a rainbow gradient bottle. These are also available at the supply store in various colors. I use these, they have the dropper, they're glass, they're beautiful. But these I keep, one for straight flow aid, one for the diluted flow aid. This is the diluted flow aid. This is what I like to use for my Schipper paints if they get a little thick. I only need 1 or 2 drops and I mix them up with the stir stick, and this seems to do the trick. You can also use a drop or two of water with Schipper paints, and it's fine. These are new paints. They don't probably require this at all, but if I need it, I have it. So I'm gonna put it out of the way. Once I zoom in, you may not see what's going on over here, but I wanted to let you know what I was using, so that if you see me over here, you know, you won't wonder what I'm doing. All right, so I've got everything set up the way I want it. What I want to try to do is do some of the darker colors that tend to be the streakiest. And we're going to test these paints and see if they're giving us any trouble with the actual application and not just on a swatch on our board. Unprepped, unprimed. And I see a couple of the number 8s, which are the browns, right in here. I'm going to go ahead and start with those areas. Now, one thing I can do is go in with the 2/0. Because it is a larger cell, you can always go in with a larger brush. Now, I've tried to be careful opening Schipper paints over my boards because they are very fluid paints. You can see last night when I swatched these, I had mixed them up so they look really good. And another day we'll talk about how to prepare your Schipper paints if you get them and they're a little thick or whatever. So now let's go in here. Now you'll see I've got a little bit of a blob of paint. If that is too much with a Schipper paint pot, I usually go in on the top and just wipe off any excess. You don't need a lot of their paint, but let's go and fill this in. And I'm shaking. I just had my coffee a little bit ago, which is never a good idea when you're doing detail work, especially for a video. I'm going to put a little more paint on there, and that's going to help. And you'll notice I go back in 2 different directions to make sure I'm not leaving lines. Because I'm using a brush with a round tip that's thin, you're going to be more likely to leave stroke marks. But that gave me a really nice finished coverage. So while I've got this color and this brush, I'm going to go ahead and fill in this number 8, and then I'm going to find another one, and we're going to switch brushes and see if it makes a difference in how I have to approach this color and this particular method. Again, this would be a different little process if I had this gessoed. And what I might do is gesso this piece and do a little different demonstration. So you'll see as that is drying, because it dries very quickly when it's a thin layer, I come back over it with whatever's left on my brush and I thin it and add a little more, and it covers any lines and any unevenness, and it looks absolutely perfect, and it prevents anything that might look streaky to begin with, and it gives me perfect coverage. Now I love this brush. A lot of people that got the brush sets have been raving about the 20/0. I've never touched the 20/0, and because even in the tiniest little openings, I still use bigger brushes. It's just the way I do it. Let me clean this brush until I find another 8. I don't want any of this paint drying on my bristles. So I'm gonna go over here. You can't see it, but I'm gonna rinse this off using the little ridges at the bottom of this cup. Wipe off excess water on the side, and then I'm going to pull it across my cosmetic wipe. As I've done in prior videos, even though you cannot see this process, I reshape my brush. My brush looks absolutely perfect, and I'm going to lay it down until I need it next time. I have that conditioning agent on there, ready to roll. So one last color I wanted to try is this number 10 right here, which is a very deep, like burgundy almost. And this is a color that can be a booger. So that's the one I'm gonna test right quick. I'm gonna just go ahead and paint it, and then I will just do a time lapse. I just wanna test it for consistency, and then that will be it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use the 10/0. So let's get going. Okay, so that's it. Perfect coverage. Using the paints with the right brushes and the right method is going to make the difference in coverage and how your overall project looks. The next thing that I'm going to bring you in the next week or two will be that video about tips for how to prevent streaky paints. All right, you guys, I know this was a longer Schipper Sunday than usual, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it very informative and helpful. Don't forget to join me next week for Schipper Sunday and throughout the week for the other videos that I'm bringing to you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button over in that corner. And join me on Patreon, the Facebook group, and all the other social media that I like to bring to you. That information is in the description below, along with the links where you can find some of the things that I talked about today. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you back soon.